Good afternoon and welcome to Kentucky Valley Education Cooperative Autism Hour with Miss Kimberly Howard.
All right, I am Kim Howard, and you should know me by now. We do these on a regular basis. This week, we are going to kind of continue our last month. We were talking about social skills. I shared a lot of resources. So if you haven't had a chance to see April 2024's Autism Hour, go back and see those. There's a ton of resources that we discussed, free things that are out on the World Wide Web that you can find. And I'm going to turn off my camera because seeing myself on camera is distracting. And we're going to walk through some additional information today that I hope you will find beneficial and helpful. We're going to finish up our discussion of social skills talking about a couple of strategies that you can try. All of the strategies that we will talk about today are evidence-based practices, meaning that they have some research behind them that says they are effective for students with autism. I will say also that I have used these strategies for persons with a variety of disabilities, and I feel like you will find them helpful and beneficial for a variety of people as well. So know those things. Okay, we're going to talk first about the incredible 5-point scale. I really like the incredible 5-point scale, and you can see 2 books on the screen. So know that you do not have to have the incredible 5-point scale book to utilize this tool. They have a website that has their printable scales on it for free, and I'll share that link with you in a few minutes. The book that you're going to see on the right side of your screen called The Incredible 5-Point Scale. It is beneficial and helpful. It has some great tools in it that can help you get started. It has some examples. I think that book is it's under $25. So know that that is out there. The second book, called When My Worries Get Too Big, is kind of a children's story. It is very age neutral, meaning that I have seen this be used for very young children. It is kind of how you see on the screen. It's a little bit of line drawing, kind of cartoony, but not babyish. And I have seen people utilize this book for older teens and adults. So feel comfortable. And that book is also under that $20 range. So know both of those things. You don't need to have either book, but both of them can benefit and help in the development of creating your own incredible 5-point scale. All right, so what is the 5-point scale? The 5-point scale takes non-concrete concepts like your emotions, angry, mad, happy. Those look like different things on different people. And if I have a social disability, and understanding my own thoughts and feelings and emotions, and also recognizing thoughts, feelings, and emotions in other people is a challenge for me, then something like a tool like the incredible 5-point scale that takes those non-concrete concepts and relates them to a number and a color can help me more easily identify what's happening inside of my own self. And we'll talk about how you might do that. And it's a really good tool. And I have used this with a variety of students. I have used this for a variety of ages. We'll talk a little bit about how you might adapt it for younger students. So, incredible 5-point scale. These are a couple of examples. If you Google, I always tell people if I'm trying out something new, Google incredible 5-point scale or whatever preferred web browser you have. At least 100 different versions of it will come up. There are a lot of examples of different ways that this has been utilized. I have primarily used it in my individual classroom, but I have seen this be used as a school-wide behavior tool. There's no right or wrong answer. It's what works best for you. So if you look at the example, so the example on the left, sorry, I have to think about my right and left here, says pedals control scale. And you can see it goes from a 5 down to a 1. This version is all written. Obviously, this is for a student who is a good reader, which is wonderful. That is the other piece that I like about this, is that I can adapt this with pictures. I can adapt this with words, depending on the needs of the person that I am supporting. It has 3 different boxes that says, how does this feel? So on this incredible 5-point scale, and they all work this way, a 1 generally means I'm fine, I'm feeling good inside. A 5 generally means I'm upset or something intense is happening. And we can relate these scales to a variety of different things, and I'll talk about that in a minute. A 3 is kind of a middle ground, and I'm starting to feel maybe that I'm getting upset in this one. This one says this can make me nervous. Um, this particular scale has a description in the middle, and it says what makes me feel this way. So for the 5, they feel like they could lose control. What makes me feel this way? Well, loud talking and laughing that keeps going on. School bells set them off, and smell of fish particularly bothers them. How can I tell? Well, I'm screaming. Now it's too late. Um, for this child or adult, I'm not sure. It has an emergency. So this is an emergency. If I'm at a 5, I don't want to be there. It says stop talking, close my eyes, and take deep breaths. The thing about the incredible 5-point scale is not only does it help us identify in a concrete manner, meaning I can give this a number and a color, but it helps us, it gives us information about what can I do if this is happening to me. So the example on the right side of the screen with the popsicle sticks and the names, they've got green, blue, yellow, red. This version of it, they are using popsicle sticks, and the student is coming in to the classroom and they are doing kind of a check-in of what is happening. How am I feeling? I'm in the number 1 green. I'm in the number 2 blue. I am feeling number 3 yellow, or for them, number 4 is there is an incredible 4-point scale. You can adjust this for your student and your need. So this particular version I have seen in a few different places. I love this type of version, and I will say when I have used this with my students, and it can be on a single page. I've had a student that we used these with, and this was on a printed page. The printed page was kept in the back of their like 3-ring binder or a folder that traveled with them everywhere they went. I have had a student that we put the 5-point scale on individual index cards. So each index card, there were 5 index cards. Each one had a number and a color on it. And then there were helpful tips on the back. And we put that on a book ring, and it was on a lanyard type necklace, and they carried it in their pocket, or they wore it on their neck, however they were feeling that day, but it went with them. That's really important. So you can see with this scale, it has a place, it has the obvious, the 1, 2, 3, the number scale and the colors. And then it has the place in the middle for identifying how I feel. This particular person liked emojis. Emojis are nice, neutral pictures that you can utilize. A lot of kids are familiar with those, probably more familiar than we are. The last column is my favorite piece. It tells them what they can do if how they're feeling. So for number 1, they're feeling great. They can simply enjoy the feeling and continue having fun. For a number 3, they know that something is wrong. I've got a problem. So let's let the teacher know that you have a problem and get help. So it directs them to ask an adult or a teacher. They have a squishy thing, so some sort of sensory tool. They might hold Luke Skywalker, which was a toy, a small fidgety toy that they kept. They're going to take 4 to 5 deep breaths. All of these strategies are things that have to be taught. So if I put something in that final column of what can I do, then it needs to be something that I have taught that student to use, and know that in the beginning of utilizing the incredible 5-point scale, this is going to be adult controlled, meaning that I wouldn't develop this scale and hand this over to Johnny and expect Johnny to be like, oh, I'm feeling really upset. What should I do? And them to be able to instantly, independently use this. I must teach it, and I have to reinforce the use of it. Reinforce them by saying, I really like how I really love the way that you're using the tool. We'll talk more about that in a minute, some strategies for how you might get started with using it. But that is something that you have to think through. And this is a great scale to build in students' likes. So if you have a student that loves Bluey, you have a student, I've made one of these that we did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We did a turtle scale. I've done this. You can individualize this for students and incorporate some of their interest and things that they like, which will help them hopefully have some buy-in to using the scale. So hopefully this is something that you can create with the individual person who will use it. If not, that's okay. Maybe you know some of the things that they like and you can help build it. And that last column of what can I do or what can I do if I'm feeling this way, you can build that over time, right? The other piece that I found is as the adult, as the person in the position that was supposed to be, well, what do they do when they need help? What it gave me a chance to think through, gosh, if they're feeling upset, well, what can they do? It helped me to kind of task analyze some different situations and realize that I was missing the key piece of teaching them some skills, right? Some self-regulation skills and some skills to be able to go and ask for assistance. And this all takes time. Rome wasn't built in a day, and this will be the same circumstance in the situation. All right. If you have worked in the behavior world, or if you've ever been to like a safe crisis management or restraint type training, you've probably heard of the anxiety curve. The 5-point scale matches up, right? And that's all this is. This is not something that I would give to a child. This is more for adults in this circumstance. Note on this scale. So the anxiety curve, the way that it works is a same circumstance as a 1, everything is going great. A 5 means that some sort of peak or explosion has happened. I add this in because when we're thinking about opportunities to teach the incredible 5-point scale with another person, we have to take advantage of the appropriate times of teaching that on the anxiety curve. So if this is the first this is new to them, brand new to them, especially, I'm going to introduce this when they are at a 1 or a 2, right? I'm not going to introduce this to them once there's already a problem. And you should think about your own systems of development of self-regulation. And one of the things that I will tell you is for many of our students and for most people, it's easier in the beginning for me to attempt to recognize thoughts, feelings, and emotions, or at least to talk about them. So one of the things that I did with my students was when we developed the scale, we used it only in the beginning, the first week or two that we had it. We used it we pulled it out during reading. And when we were reading a book, if I was lucky in that week's literature story, there was some sort of character problem or something going on that might fall on this scale. We talked about the 5-point scale in a non-threatening manner, meaning that when I first introduced it, I introduced it through role modeling this, kind of character role modeling this with book characters. So think about a little critter, little critter gets mad, or there are 100 children's stories or teenage stories that you could read. Also, I have introduced this type of scale through watching short video clips. Last time we talked about problem solving, I shared some different problem solving video clips. You could watch, a minute of a kid's cartoon that minute shows some sort of issue or problem or issue happening, and then utilize the 5-point scale to talk about what they could do, right? So know those things. But thinking about the anxiety curve, it is really important to think about, when am I going to teach this and when am I not going to teach this? After I've taught this and the student has a little bit of practice with this, then this would be the goal is that they don't get to 5, right? The goal is that they never see a 5. The goal is that I can prevent a 5 from happening by helping them to pick out appropriate self-regulation skills when they're at a 3, right? That is the real goal here. So in the beginning, especially, this is going to be adult directed, meaning that even if we've been talking about this for 6 months, they may not have the skill yet to pull this out when they are beginning to get upset. Many times, if you play poker, I'm not a poker player, but I have some family that plays poker, and they talk about watching people for body language and watching people for their tells, meaning that if they have good cards, they can tell if they have good cards or not based on their facial expression or their body posture. I know from experience that some of my students that I've worked with that had complicated emotional irregulation or complicated behaviors, that sometimes they had behavioral tells, right? So if I could tell that they were beginning to get upset, then it's very appropriate for me to pull out the scale and say, hey, I think you're at a 3. Let's look and see what we can do to help you get back to a better place. This is not a judgment zone, right? The incredible 5-point scale is not meant to be a judgment. It's never a punishment. Everybody gets mad and angry, right? We're not approving people's behavior. I don't want children breaking furniture or people, right? All of those things, nobody wants those things to happen. So this is meant to be to support and prevent those things. And I will say there is a teenage version called A 5 is Against the Law. And I didn't think to include that in this session until right at this minute. But A 5 is Against the Law is the teenage and adult version because we know once we turn 18, a 5 could potentially be against the law, right? The rules change and expectations and behaviors change, even though developmentally we may not be prepared for those. So A 5 is Against the Law is especially good for those late teens, early adulthood, or even into adulthood folks that are trying to navigate the social rules that change once we turn 18. So just know that. And it still falls under that $25 range, I'm pretty certain. So all good tools, good information in case, to support the whole lifespan. Okay, so how are we going to make a 5-point scale? So first, decide on the type of support that they need. So a 5-point scale can be for many, many things. I've seen it be used for all of these things that are on the screen. So keeping personal space from somebody else. I've seen it be used for winning and losing. A student that did not like to lose. And if they lost, then they became they hit a 5. And so when we play games, sometimes we lose. So we used it for that. I've seen it be used for identifying emotions very much. I've seen it be used for voice volume. I see that in a lot of classrooms. A 5 is screaming, a 0 voice means none, a 1 is a whisper. And there's a lot of good ways that you can use this tool. I have seen this be used for students that were having trouble with, that were in puberty age, right? And they were touching other people inappropriately, not necessarily sexually, but they did not know the boundaries of other people's bodies. And so we put places that you could touch people, right? I could shake someone's hand, that would be a 1. Touching someone's private parts would definitely be a 5, and that could be a problem. So we broke that scale up and put on the scale places I can touch people, places I cannot touch people. And we utilize that scale. At least we utilize that scale for those kinds of things. So lots of different ways that we might use a 5-point scale. And you'll see a lot of examples out there of it used in many different ways. So it's nice that you can customize it for what you need for your student. All right, so then you break the skill, whatever skill you decided on, you break it into 5 parts, or you might break it into 3 parts if your person that you are supporting is young. So maybe they're preschool, kindergarten age, or maybe they have a cognitive disability and the 5-point scale might be too overwhelming for them. So I'm going to need to break it down a little bit, in a simpler fashion for them to support where they are at. And sometimes it's hard to tell with our people. So if you try a 5-point scale and a 5-point scale is overwhelming, or they don't respond well to it, then change it to a 3-point scale. Because really that 2 and that 4, when I've built a lot of these, and I tell people when they first start using it, if we were in person, I would make you build one for yourself. And building one for yourself, that 4 and that 2 are kind of hard. Figuring out, what does this look like for me? What can I do if I'm at a 4 or a 2? So, no shame at all in making this 5 point scale into a 3 point scale. It's thinking about what is best for your circumstance and your student that you are supporting. So, I love that flexibility within within this particular scale. So, things to know. All right, here are my tips. Feelings are not labeled as good or bad, right? We all have feelings. We all get angry. It's how we respond to being angry or upset that matters. Everybody gets mad. If you haven't got mad, you're doing way better than I am. If at all possible, build the scale with the student and incorporate special interest, if at all possible, for them. If you know that they love football or they love certain colors or they love I had a student that had shapes that they love and shapes that they hated. We we utilized those, and that was how they wanted to build it. Um, the sky's the limit. My favorite probably has been Minecraft and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those were probably some of my favorite ways that we built it, but it can be customized for your individual needs, and it should be as much as possible. And the thing with that is what however you set it, whatever you make it look like, it needs to go with them. So if they use it in your classroom and it's Ninja Turtles, then when they go to the gym or the lunchroom or they go to Miss Susie's class, their scale should still be Ninja Turtles, right? It shouldn't be changed based on the location because that can be very confusing for people. It should go everywhere with them. And in the beginning, especially, but for some of our students that we support, you may be adult prompting prompting the use of it, reminding them to get it out, especially in the beginning. But for some of our students, that may go on for a very long time. Read a couple of years. Don't think that if they don't have the hang of this in 1 month or 6 months, that this is the tool I should give up on, right? Hang in there. It's a long haul. Changing behavior is a long haul. Understanding our own thoughts and feelings and emotions can be a long haul for even people with typical development, let alone if we have the challenges of a disability on top of it. When I'm first using this and for always, have specific times of the day that you check it in, that you're having students check in with their 5 point scale. Maybe it's in the morning, maybe it's after lunch. Have times of the day that you're going to check in with them just so you are practicing them using the scale when they are not upset. Because probably what will happen, and I say this from my own personal experience when I first started using it, was I would forget about it as the functional adult until that student was having a meltdown. And then I would be like, I need to pull this out. But we weren't practicing it when they weren't upset. And that is a key piece of this. They have to check in when they are not upset. And then it's a happy thing. Checking in doesn't take very long. We're talking a few minutes at most, maybe less than a minute for many students. Um, Seek out opportunities to pull that out and connect it across your school day. We check the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of our connected it to reading and pulled out book characters and utilized it to talk about the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of our book characters. I've used it to watch short video clips. We all have kids that want to watch YouTube videos or want to watch something, they want to watch videos. They would watch videos all the time, uh, which is not where we want to be at. But at least with this, they can watch a few minutes of videos. You can connect it to something that will teach them a functional skill that will benefit them their whole life. I always tell people being able to self-regulate, being able to handle and control our own emotions, I that's a skill we use every day until we die, right? We're going to use this skill every day. So this is definitely something that we want to emphasize and teach. And it's something that will affect our ability to get a job later on or our ability to interact with others. So key critical skill that I hope that I know everybody out there is trying to work on, and especially social skills after COVID and self-regulation and thinking through some of those thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Those have been a lot of kind of keywords that have come up a lot the last few years. Here is that website that I promised you. They have a ton of information on there besides their downloadables. This is the direct link to their downloadables website. All of them are free. They have many examples that are editable, meaning that you can I think they come in Word and you can download them to your computer and then make adjustments. You can also Google Incredible 5-point scale, and there are many, many versions that will come up that are also free. Inside of the Google Drive, I have put two different forms that have a couple of versions of the Incredible 5-point scale, as well as a detailed explanation sheet of how to build your own. So if you are hearing this information and you work with a team of teachers and you want to take it back, you can watch this video with them, and you can get those downloadable resources that are inside of the KVEX Google Drive that are out there for you to use. So take advantage, give it a try. All right, other strategies that improve skill performance. So we have the skill, but we need to practice it more often. All right, social stories. Social stories or social narratives have been around for many, many years. I'm gonna say I can't even remember how long. I want to say maybe at least the 90s, maybe the 80s. Um, Social stories is a term that's coined, meaning she owns it, by Carol Gray. She was the inventor of it. We mostly say social narratives. It means the same thing. And we're going to walk through. I want you to know about the website at the bottom of the screen. It's Carol Gray's socialstories.com. She has a free club. You can join this for free, and it gives you access to social stories that she has built. As well as she will send you out a little bit of, you'll get a few emails from her every year with information about free webinars and other events that she hosts that you can attend. She is the guru of social stories. So she is a great person to learn from. I'll give you a brief overview and some resources to get started with today and talk a little bit about how I have used them. But I love social stories. They're another one of those highly researched, effective tools. So, a social story is a social learning tool that supports the safe and meaningful exchange of information between parents, professionals, and people with autism and other disabilities of all ages. So, a social story is usually a short description of a particular situation. It could be an event, so like a sporting event. It might be in the past few years, Western Kentucky got hit by horrific tornadoes. And one of the things that we did was seek out social stories regarding the traumatic events that can surround having a terrible tornado eat your town, right? So they can be cover many, many different things. So school-based situations, but also home-based situations or community situations. And it gives the learner specific information about what they can expect in that situation and why. So the goal of it is to take an unknown. So maybe I've never been to a school dance before, and I don't know what to expect, and I don't know the rules essentially, or even what I can expect from a school dance, and it then gives you that information in a matter of fact way. Typically, and we're not going to watch this video because video and Zoom does not always go well for me, but this is about 11 minutes. So when you watch this video, Carol Gray goes into depth of how to build a social story and what it is. It's very much worth the watch. So you will find that at her website, and it is worth knowing about. All right, so how do we write a social story? So, and I will tell you, I have written a lot of social stories. I have gotten some of them have come out really well, and some of them haven't. You will have the same experience. Some social stories will be great and help do what you wanted to do. And sometimes you'll write a social story and you'll be like, wait, that's not quite what I was going for. And you will revise it and make some edits and changes to it. So typically a social story, you're going to start with, what is the goal? Well, maybe the goal is to go to first grade math, right? You're going to gather information, the who, what, when, where, and why of first grade math. You're going to give it a title. You're going to have a brief introduction, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples. And then you will have a body and a conclusion. Those are Carol's important parts. So here are some specific sentences that you will want to include. So a descriptive sentence, and most of these are written very matter-of-factly. A descriptive sentence of, I ride the bus. They have perspective sentences. Sometimes I get upset when I ride the bus because it is loud and crowded. It has directive or coaching sentences. A coaching sentence is giving the learner a suggestion of what they might do to help their self feel better or what they might expect. So I can put on my headphones and listen to music when I feel upset on the bus. They give them an affirmative sentence, meaning in this case, staying relaxed on the bus is good for me. Those are some suggestions of sentences that you might think about. Um, you're going to want to think about the learner's ability to read and comprehend. You're going to want to think about things like how long their attention span is, and it will affect how much words you put on a page. These also incorporate pictures. And when we're introducing this, you're going to introduce and read the story. This is also another place that you will need to read and introduce the story when the person is in a calm state of being. Right, especially in the beginning. You're going to provide opportunities for practice with the story. If they're going to math every day, then maybe if they go to math at 1:30, then maybe at noon or 1 o'clock, they read the story for math. Maybe at 1:15, right before they go, they read the story before they go down to math class. You're going to adapt and revise the story as needed, right? These are meant to be flexible and change with the needs of the student and the scenario. All right, here are some examples, and go on Carol Gray's website, and I'll show you one from her as well, at least a partial one. So my toys, sharing things are hard, and this is from Carol Gray's Social Stories book 2015. My toys. My toys belong to me. They are mine. Many of my toys were given to me. Some of my toys have my name on them. I may play with my toys or share them with someone. I have toys that are mine. And then the other story is about recess. So every day I go to recess. I go to recess after lunch. I first put on my jacket, then I line up. If the weather is nice, I go to the playground. I can choose to go on the slide, the swing, the jungle gym. Sometimes I can go straight to my favorite equipment. Sometimes I wait my turn. I can choose to play with friends or play alone. When the bell rings, I line up to go outside. Recess is a great time for exercise and fun. So, what do you notice about these stories? All of these stories focus on the positive, right? The mistakes or the things that you should avoid when you are writing social stories is it's easy to get sucked into the negative, and that is not going to be helpful information in a social story. Social stories are much better off written from what you want the student to do. Most of the time, if not all of the time, they're going to be much more successful when you give them the facts about what you want them to do. I supported a school many years past, and they had a student that was being physically violent with them, and they were trying to write a social story, but their first line of the social story was, sometimes so and so punches me. Well, that is not a good place to start, right? Their intention was good, and they were very good people and a wonderful teacher. But we ended up starting when what they found was they wrote the social story with the negative information in it, and the negative behaviors increased. So the goal is to tell them the information that you need them to know. With that student, we rewrote the story and said, everyone gets mad, right? Because they do. Everybody gets mad. Here are things that I can do when I am mad. I can punch Play-Doh. I can ask for a break. I can go to the calm down corner. We gave him a specific list of things that he could do when he was mad. And that's what you have to focus on and think about. So those are the those are the things to avoid. Here's another example from Carol Gray, and this is on her social story sampler. Um, Safety wherever I go. Wherever I go, there is something or someone to help keep children safe. Wherever I go, there are places with fences, ramps, rails, walkways, doors, or locks that help keep children safe. So that's another example of what might be out there. All right. That was social stories, and a cousin of social stories might be a power card. So a power card is a strategy that was developed by Eliza Gagon, and I might be saying that wrong. It utilizes a child's special interest, right? It takes their favorite character or a celebrity and it helps them to understand expectations, clarify choices, teach consequences for appropriate behavior, or give a more appropriate social response. All right, so you can see a couple of examples on here. So don't interrupt the teacher. Um, so you see Mr. SpongeBob, you see Mr. SpongeBob on there, and this child likes SpongeBob, and so this was a child who blurted a lot. And so they would lay this on their desk. It was a gentle reminder to not blurt out. You see Mr. Paw Patrol in the corner and it says, share your toys, right? We all want kids to share every now and then. We do have to share our toys. So this was a way that they might do that. Another example of a power card, we often pair them with a social story. They are smaller. These aren't necessarily a full page of paper, but they could be. The ones that I have used with students are frequently about the size of like a baseball card. The example of the dolphin comes from the Ocali resources, and I will take you to that website when we get to the end. So Dolphin wants you to remember, share your toys. Friends share their toys, even if it's your favorite toy. Friends share. So the dolphin was a character that this particular child liked. They were trying to utilize the power of the dolphin to get the child to engage in sharing their toys. With my personal child many years ago, teeth brushing was very hard for him. We went to many years of therapy. And so to get access to anything inside of his mouth. So when he was younger, he loved Thomas the Train, loved Thomas the Train, and he loves Sir Topham Hatt. If you're a Thomas the Train fan, you will know who Sir Topham Hatt is. And we kept a power card in the bathroom of Sir Topham Hatt that said, Sir Topham Hatt is so proud when you brush your teeth. Simple as that. Had a little picture of Sir Topham Hatt, had the sentence that said, Sir Topham will be so proud of you when you brush your teeth. Nothing else. When it was time to brush his teeth, I would set it on the sink where he could see it. Sometimes we would read it. Sometimes I would just put it down so Sir Topham Hatt could watch him brush his teeth. And that was the way that we did it. These can be useful in a lot of circumstances for a variety of kids. I've seen power cards be really successful. You can use these with popular celebrities. I had a student several years back that was loved the Twilight series, loved the Twilight series, and so she had a couple of power cards that had Twilight characters and on them, and they were encouraging her to do things like stay in her seat, encouraging her to do things like participate in the when it was time to work with a partner to participate and talk to that partner. And so I think we had a card that said Edward and oh, I can't remember the werewolf's name. Oh, Edward and oh, Jacob. I should know that. I think Edward and Jacob maybe Edward and Jacob talk to each other and you can talk to your partner. Just very simple, not elaborate, but she loved that card and she would talk to her partner after a gentle reminder that, hey, these people that you love, they talk to people too. So power cards have been around for a while and are a good tool to use. All right, so how might we use them? We can use them for clarifying students' expectations. Maybe Mr. Cookie Monster is using this for a calm down strategy reminder. We might clarify choices, teach cause and effect between behavior and consequences, teach another person's perspective. It might be a visual reminder of what is appropriate behavior right now. And it helps kind of aid in generalization. So use any character that fits for your students and is school appropriate, right? And then you're just going to write a brief script. This one on the screen is Jack's power card, and the script on it is a little bit longer, but it is on how this one is for having a conversation, right? How to start and end a conversation. It needs to be written at the individual's comprehension level. So if they are good with a lot of words, then that is wonderful. If they need less words, then you should keep that in mind. In the beginning, you're going to read this on a schedule basis every day, a few times a week. It depends on how often this activity takes place, maybe a few times a day. It just depends on those circumstances. But power cards are a great tool to use. And I am going to stop sharing this screen and I want to show you some free resources. And I'm going to share. Sorry, look away if it will bother you. I'm going to share to Ocali. Let me make sure. You should be seeing ocalis.org/project resource gallery of interventions. We talked about this last time. They have a variety of free, they call it their grab and go resource gallery of interventions. It's worth knowing about. They are all free. If you're trying to get started with power cards, I'm going to scroll the screen just slightly. They have several options for coping with change, remote learning, sharing, shopping with my family. So there's things oriented towards families, firefighters, and riding the bus to school. I haven't read that one, but now I feel like I need to. So they have some examples to help you get started. And they also have a blank template. So if you want to make your own, which is wonderful, you can do that. So all good things to know that are out there and worth knowing about. I appreciate your time and effort today. Thank you all.
A great big thank you, and look forward to working with you more in the future. So,
Thank you all.